The human brain is hardwired to seek immediate rewards. For 24-year-old auto mechanic Oliver, wealth was something that happened to other people, while his life was measured in hourly wages and broken parts. Opening a basic investing app, his intention was simple: drop a single, one-time $50 bill into an index fund just to see what would happen. But a single, accidental tap of a toggle switch changed everything. Instead of a one-time deposit, Oliver accidentally checked the box for a recurring weekly draft. $50, leaving his checking account every single Monday morning, completely automatic. He didn't even notice the mistake until 7 days later. Oliver's banking app sent a critical alert that jolted him out of his routine. Account low. The silent automation had begun its work. His initial reaction was sheer panic. In your early 20s, $50 a week isn't pocket change. It's a full tank of gas, a week of cheap groceries, or a night out with friends. He sat at his kitchen counter, staring at a stack of bills, fully intending to log into the app and cancel the draft immediately. But modern life is full of friction. He couldn't remember his password. The two-factor authentication failed. Then he got called into an extra shift at the auto shop. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks quickly turned into months. Without consciously realizing it, Oliver had bypassed the greatest single obstacle in human finance: human decision-making. The automation took over. By year 3, Oliver finally recovered his password. He opened the app during a quiet evening, expecting to see a life-changing, massive sum of money. Instead, he saw roughly $8,000. It was a sobering, deeply unrewarding moment. He had sacrificed weekend trips, skipped dinners, and cut small daily comforts for 3 whole years, and the compound interest calculation had barely added a few $100s of actual growth. The rest was just his own hard-earned money. This is the exact graveyard where 90% of retail investors quit out of pure boredom. The temptation to cash out the $8,000 and buy a newer car was overwhelming. But Oliver looked at his grease-stained hands and chose to stay the course. Then came year 7, and with it, a brutal macroeconomic shift. The global stock market tanked 30% in a sudden, terrifying recession. Panic headlines dominated every single screen. Oliver watched his portfolio value drop from $22,000 down to $15,000 in a matter of weeks. The emotional pain of watching real, hard-earned savings evaporate into thin air is terrifying. Around him, panic was infectious. Oliver placed his thumb directly over the big red sell button. His heart raced as he faced the ultimate psychological test, but instead of clicking it, he locked his phone and put it face down on his desk. The automated system didn't care about his fear. On Monday morning, while the entire market was at rock bottom, the app quietly executed its routine. It bought shares at a massive discount. As the economy slowly recovered, Oliver's portfolio didn't just bounce back. It surged forward because it held more shares than ever before. By year 12, the numbers started getting hard to ignore. Oliver was now 36 years old, his hair showing the earliest signs of maturity. He opened his app during a lunch break, not with anxiety, but with curiosity. The balance had quietly grown to over $85,000. The psychological burden of investing had completely vanished. The mistake had turned into a deeply ingrained habit. By year 15, the hidden magic of mathematics began to fundamentally shift the gravity of his wealth. Oliver was now 39. The portfolio crossed $140,000. And that's when a fascinating milestone occurred. For the first time, the annual growth generated by the index fund exceeded the total amount of money Oliver contributed out of his paycheck that year. The snowball had become heavy enough to move on its own momentum. It no longer needed his effort to grow. Oliver had successfully crossed the chasm from working for money to having his money work for him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. By year 25, the compounding growth curve went entirely vertical. The boring, flat plateau of his 20s was completely gone. $50 a week, which once felt like an aggressive bite out of his budget, was now a drop in the ocean compared to the massive daily swings of his portfolio value. The market would fluctuate by thousands of dollars a day, but the underlying engine just kept compounding quietly in the background. Oliver had reached a level of financial peace that few ever achieve, all while continuing his normal life unaffected by economic noise. The true power of compounding isn't the speed. It's the unstoppable acceleration that happens when you simply leave it alone. By year 32, Oliver's portfolio crossed the $500,000 mark. The sheer scale of the automated mistake was becoming undeniable. He was now 56 years old. He had spent decades working with his hands, but his capital was out-earning him every single day. Neighbors and friends saw him as a modest, hard-working guy next door. They had absolutely no idea about the invisible empire he had built, because wealth isn't the car you drive or the luxury goods you buy. True wealth is the options you have available to you. And Oliver's options were now completely unlimited. The final phase of the exponential curve was about to trigger. At age 64, exactly 40 years after his finger slipped on a smartphone screen, Oliver sat down in a quiet, beautifully lit room. He opened the app one final time to look at the result of his lifelong, accidental discipline. The balance read exactly $1,542,000. A massive fortune built entirely out of an auto mechanic's modest wages, structured by a technical mistake and insulated by absolute emotional discipline. The system had worked flawlessly because it entirely eliminated his own behavioral flaws. It didn't rely on his willpower. He didn't try to time the stock market, he didn't pick speculative meme stocks, and he didn't wait until he was rich to start investing. He simply let time and compounding do all the heavy lifting for 40 straight years. Now, sitting in his quiet home, Oliver holds the ultimate asset: complete control over his own time. He owes nothing to anyone. The greatest financial decision Oliver ever made wasn't a stroke of brilliant Wall Street genius. It was a simple user error, a mistake that he was simply too smart and too disciplined to ever correct. Wealth isn't about intelligence, it is about behavior.